Hello, world. Welcome to another podcast. We have a very special guest today. I'm very excited. I'm your host, JCool. We got Jasmine.
Jasmine.
Jasmine. Jasmine on that side right here. I'm very excited today. Um, Today's topic or today's title of our podcast today is A Call to Action for Asian Americans. And it was inspired by this amazing person. She is a pharmacy student, a climate activist, and a photographer out of New York City. She advocates for Asian Americans, freedom of the press, and the planet's health. She's a national writer for her campus and has had work published in sustainable-oriented magazines. She is originally from the Bay Area.
Hey.
So now currently residing in New York City. Welcome, Jennalynn. Thank you so much for capacity today.
Yeah. How was your Sunday afternoon?
It was all right. I was just chilling, just getting myself prepared for this, I guess. Thank you guys for having me.
So what's going on in New York? I mean, you guys are like you guys are the examples of how to overcome the coronavirus. I know cases are kind of rising in certain spots, but how are you guys?
I think that New York right now, it's sort of like this city like has come back together. It was in a really dark place before, like literally Times Square was like completely blank and empty. There were no people, but now it's sort of like alive again. Although that does have its own downsides, because I know that a lot of people have been like really irresponsible and not wearing their masks.
Man.
And it's just like, we've been through a pandemic, we were the epicenter of it. So it's sort of like, why didn't you learn your lesson? And like, it's good that it's summer and people can go out. Like, I've actually been going around, like I'm still working, but I'm planning to go to the beach with my mask on. But like, it's a little worrying. I think that it will come back to bite us in the butt later. And that's just how all of the US is going. But New York is popping right now.
Right. Well, I will have to say that because I live in and around the Lake Merritt area. And just driving around from here to my office, because my office is in Berkeley. Man, there's so many, I mean, people are just not getting it, man. I mean, as soon as they lifted a little bit, we're in phase one in certain areas, not like in Oakland, people, I mean, look at, Oakland people are gonna do what they do, but yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Right. You can't stop them.
And it's like, you don't want to be a party pooper. Like, come on, we're like, everyone, we need to get it together. You know what I'm saying?
And together meaning, I would say wear your mask, bring some hand sanitizer everywhere you go. I always forget that, but I find that really useful when I go shopping. So I think that everyone should carry paper towels, hand sanitizer, and a mask.
Dude, look it. You won't look, okay, you are going to look funny when you're wearing a bikini, getting sun with a mask. You'll at least look like you're trying to, you know, be a part of getting this shit together. You know, that's all I have to say about that, because it's just terrible that we are way behind on getting it together, and other countries are just had to buckle down. Like, we all have to do it, you know, especially like, I know you're not here at home and you're not around your family, but I'm around my mom a lot. You know what I mean? And it would be so irresponsible of me of not doing the things I need to do to ensure that I help take care of my mom and just being around my friends and all that. Come on, man. All right, that's enough of that. But otherwise, New York, I mean, people are wearing masks and doing what they need to do, right?
Yeah, for the most part. And recently, the New York Times published this piece about how a lot of New Yorkers have antibodies, like in Corona, Queens, and like Elmhurst, which are parts of Queens, like 68% of the people that they tested had antibodies. So because we were hit so hard the first time, that might also be a reason why people aren't taking it as seriously anymore. And like there is some logic to that. Like I think that it's less likely for a lot of us to get sick just because like we may have been exposed to it before, and although there's no like science proving that if you get sick you're immune to it, but it's just like it might be less likely.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, on the health side, we know how COVID can affect us, but why don't we discuss the xenophobia and violence against Asian Americans since the COVID pandemic hit?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually experienced a little bit of the xenophobia myself. Like I sort of wrote this in my piece, but I was coming back from work, like I was wearing scrubs and everything, and this guy was just talking about how Chinese people are horrible because they had brought coronavirus to the United States.
Was it a black guy? What was it?
No, it was a black guy, and I thought that was really interesting because you know, if it was a white person, most of us would be like, oh, well.
Yeah.
But to see that it's like another minority saying that type of stuff, it's a little disheartening. But
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had friends that are like lighter skin like yourself that has been kind of clumped and boxed in, and you know, while they're shopping, because you know, I live near Chinatown, so I do support local business, right? So yeah, you just see how you know, how, because a couple of times I had to like say, come on, dude, like seriously, just buy your shit and move on with your day. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, sometimes, and I think that's what we have to be able to speak up and say something. Yeah, you know, if you're comfortable doing that, obviously.
Right.
I think Asian folks are just, you know, we just kind of just deal with it, and we walk around and we tiptoe around problems, and we just sometimes to the detriment of our health. Maybe sometimes we just gotta we gotta speak up. You know what I mean? And we back each other up. You know what I mean? So I had to do that a couple of times, honestly. You know,
and I feel like though how Asian Americans react to the violence, we take it in so humbly, but then again, I feel like we don't know when to speak up.
Being scared, you know what I'm saying?
We're scared, but you know, I feel like we're not it's not aggressive. We don't have that aggressive nature in us to speak up or say anything. You know, we just kind of let it, like you said, we tiptoe around it or let it pass by.
Yeah, like we take all the punches. We're sort of used to being punching bags in literally comedy. Like a lot of jokes will be made about Asian people and nobody will speak up about it. We won't speak out against it. Because although we recognize that, you know, a lot of stereotypes do have truth in them, we're too like afraid to address the actual racism and microaggressions that's like embedded in the joke as well. And that's like what allows it to continue. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy where if you're fed these like stereotypes through media and jokes, you're going to believe them eventually.
Right. And it's almost like embedded in the American culture to do that. You know what I mean? Since the Chinese got, you know, since the Chinese been here for so long, and they've been, I mean, everyone else as well, but I think, we just need to say something, back each other up. I think that's what we need to start doing, because if we don't, people continue to run all over us, you know. And speaking of, you know, over 150,000 people have been filing reports of violence against Asian Americans.
Wow.
And many aren't filing because, you know, they feel like they don't want to rock the boat. What are your feelings about that, and how can you encourage those victims to file a report and just get their story out there?
I think that, I mean, I have two different perspectives on it, I guess, because on one hand, I understand why somebody might be uncomfortable filing a report. It's just like, like they might feel like an isolated incident, and so they don't feel like they need to pursue it anymore. It's just like, oh, that happened and I'm going to continue on my day, and that's fine, like that's valid. But also, like with the numbers, like you just saying, that many cases have already been filed, that says a lot. And like the more people that do it, the more of a statement we can make, like this is a problem, you guys need to address it. It's sort of like the Black Lives Matter protests before. They weren't very big, and so they couldn't have an actual impact on, like, you know, police reform and actual policies in the United States. So if more Asian Americans or just Asian people in general filed against this, then like the impact would be greater.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually there's a story out of Texas where I guess it was what was it,
An
Jazz?
Asian American man. It's an Asian American man and his family. They were out, I think, and then you know, they thought he was Chinese, and they attacked him to the point where he was stabbed, and someone had to rescue and help him. And I think that's the point where that's the time where Asian Americans need to speak up.
Right.
Because now we're just fighting for basic human rights and just to live safely, you know?
Yeah, dude, that's dangerous, because I even saw a report where a father and son were sliced in the face. And the son was probably not even like 5 or 6 years old.
Oh my God.
Man, how can you do that to a child? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's very disturbing, you know, and I think it does start from the top, and that is the president. He does have a lot of influence, not just on like white folks, right, but just the messaging, you know, just kung flu.
Yeah.
I mean, plethora of things he's even trying to tie in racial, you know, cultural stuff to it. You know what I mean? It's not a good look, man. And literally, it does affect, even if you're not white, you know, it does affect the mentality of other folks going out there, even if they have a little inkling of I guess misunderstandings about certain Asian people. That just encourages them. That just gives them a little bit of courage to say and do those types of things, you know. So, anyways, yeah, I'm just a little discouraged.
And I do, you know, kind of building off of what you said, I kind of like I wonder if Trump knows what he's doing, knows what he's tweeting.
Does, man.
And that's what gets me, and this is our president, because he really does get a reaction out of people. And, you know, that's all of politics. That's the game they play. But, I mean, it's getting to the point where he's causing more division in America than unity. And
but he never, his whole presidential campaign has never been focused on unity. It's just been white people in America.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's not surprising at all.
Yeah, and if he had the decency and humanity, he wouldn't be saying those things. But he doesn't.
Division.
Yeah. So let's talk about the lack of Asian American coalition presence supporting the Black Lives Matter.
Go ahead, Jennalynn.
I honestly feel like because of all the social media activism happening, a lot of coalitions have felt the need to speak out. And I don't know whether that's superficial or not. I think that they are making like a statement, like they're saying attacking Black people and like this internalized racism and like anti-Blackness against them is a bad thing. Like I think that people are aware of it, but I don't know whether like the intent behind what they're saying is like good or not. Like I don't, like it's sort of like, are you just saying Black Lives Matter because you want to save yourself or because you actually care? And so, I mean, I would hope that a lot of organizations are doing it because they do care. I think that individuals care because they don't have any obligation to speak out really, but organizations, hopefully.
Yeah, because I mean, the way I look at it, there are a lot of Asian Americans, right? And I think individual Asian Americans out there, and they're out there doing and supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. But I think, you know, the media is killing me, though, Jennalynn, because they don't mention other groups. I mean, they're always, you know, always saying Black, whites, and browns and Latinos, right? Hispanics. But we are out of that conversation, and that is disturbing. I mean, I guess some activists are recognizing that there are Asians out there supporting the movement, but I don't think we're not getting enough coverage about it, and that's very dangerous.
No, I totally agree with you. I think that Asian people, like I see so many of my fellow activists, they constantly are talking about Black, brown, and then they say POC spaces. It's never like Asian people. And while I do understand why they feel that way, like we are lighter. There is like some privilege in being lighter than an actual brown person. But it's not like we aren't people of color, and it's not like we haven't faced discrimination. Like my family has been in America for a long time, like basically since the 60s. And, you know, my grandparents literally built San Francisco. Like they've been working there their entire lives. They're still there. And like, like America is built on our backs as well. It's not just Black and brown people. It is also us. And so the fact that we're constantly forgotten is like really disheartening and sort of insulting. But I understand why they feel that way, and I understand why it's happening. Like Asian activists themselves, like myself included, I think a lot of times we shrink ourselves in those activist spaces because, like, even with climate activism, there's definitely an emphasis on indigenous people, and there should be, because like that's their land. But I find myself like sort of still in the conversation, but not saying much just because I feel like I shouldn't be saying that much stuff. Like it's not my topic or whatever. It's like it's not about me. Yeah. But we are still minorities, and it's like I wish that we were recognized more, and I wish that activists were recognized more, just as much as Black and brown people.
Right. And we'll expand on that conversation during the podcast. But, you know, in your amazing article, you discussed the commodification of Black culture, but leave the Black people to rot. Please expand on that argument.
I mean, even in my own friends, like on their social media pages and stuff, they'll talk about, you know, Juice WRLD or their favorite rappers, and, you know, when they unfortunately pass away, they make a huge deal out of it. But when somebody like George Floyd dies, I don't hear anything coming from them, and it's still a Black person who died. Like they're both Black, but they only care about them because of the music that they make.
Right.
So it's really, it's almost an objectification of the person. You don't care about them and their life. You only care about what they're producing so that you can take it and claim it as your own. Like, I don't think streetwear is evidence of that. I think streetwear is actually from like LA, and it was influenced by Asian people from the beginning. But with rap, it definitely feels that way.
Yeah. Yeah, because the way I feel about it is like, because I grew up, you know, I mean, we're all originally from the Bay Area, right? And it's heavily influenced by Black culture, Latino culture. Obviously, if you live near Chinatown, you know, Asian, right? But for me, you know, and for many of us, look at Black culture is it's the preeminent thing around the world, right?
Yeah.
Music, we all benefit from the fashion, sports. I mean, look at Asians, and especially in the Bay Area, we love basketball. You know what I mean? And you know, we, I think that you know, we have to do more in our own research and understand why we have the rights that we have. You know what I'm saying? Talking about immigration, how that all works together. You know, and I mean, let's just spade a spade. You know, like we need to show that appreciation and that support alongside being empowered to start our own NAACP. Even if I don't know, I need to do my own research. If we do have something like that in the Asian American community, have something similar to that, I need to do more research on that. But we have to just educate ourselves about that, and then can appreciate more the contribution of African Americans in not just in the United States, but around the world. It's like prevalent. You know what I mean? Go ahead,
Well, I mean, I'm still trying to take it all in myself.
Right.
I'm the kind of person who doesn't take things lightly.
Is a high school and a college basketball star, right, in our community, and the people she looks up to are Black, right, in the sport.
Are Black. Yeah. I mean, I've been, all my friends are mostly Black. I grew up in the area. I grew up in Oakland. I was, young at that time when the Oscar Grant situation happened. I lived in that area. My first political movement was actually when I was in 5th grade, and I marched alongside everybody for Oscar Grant.
Right.
And I am right now, I mean, as we are speaking, I am still a little sensitive to these. I'm trying to take it all in. I am frustrated with how there's people in our community that do support Black culture, but when something like George Floyd and that case happens, then all of a sudden they're quiet, safe. And that's a little frustrating. And yeah, I'm still, like I said, trying to take it all in. I don't take things in lightly. I feel everything. And yeah, I mean, there has been a time on social media where I had to step back, because I've been just seeing too many things, and then I had people come at me saying, "You're not saying anything. Use your platform." But I feel like everyone kind of takes it in differently, and we shouldn't all come at each other. Instead, we're doing different things to support each other. And yeah. Anyway, in your article, you discuss. You said historically the vast majority of Asian Americans have thrived off of the freedom and political power of the Black Power and Civil Rights movement, but show no desire or urgency to fight for it ourselves. Some of us are blind to our own hypocrisy or too caught up in trying to assimilate to Western culture. Can you expand on this?
Yeah, sure. I just want to make a comment from earlier, but when you said do more, that's really the end of the conversation. It's just Asian Americans really just need to do more. That's it. It's just, we're doing the bare minimum, and it's only for ourselves, but we need to fight for other communities as well. And so with that quotation that you pulled, civil rights movement and everything, they had fought for Asian Americans, or Asians from China and other countries to come to America. They allowed us to immigrate here. And without them fighting for that, we literally wouldn't be here. It's just, you can look it up. It's a court case. And then with civil rights, they were, when Black people were fighting for their own rights, they're fighting for all minorities. That's just, I mean, I don't really think that I need to cite anything to prove that. It just makes sense. But then when it comes to Asian people assimilating to Western society and white people, I mean, not to put down Mitch McConnell's wife, but the whole white man Asian woman thing is it's a thing in the Bay, for sure, just California in general. And there's nothing wrong with being in an interracial relationship, but it's just I think that there's a lot of internalized racism when an Asian person might be in a relationship like that, and minor feelings.
Hey, Jennalynn, but you would think that Mitch would empathize more, right? If he would, right? Dude, I'm in a lot of interracial relationships, right? So if I'm in one, I'm gonna do my due diligence. I mean, that's just part of the relationship, right? Getting to know.
But it just shows the dynamic of their relationship in the first place. It shows that he doesn't he just like it's just so it says so many things. Like the volume of it is astronomical without having to say anything. And like
It's
that
just
can
like
be said about there was this like congressman, I think he might be a senator from Arizona, from Scottsdale, or maybe he might be a council member, but he was saying like, I don't know if you guys saw it, he used George Floyd's "I can't breathe" as a way to say I don't want to wear a mask. And his wife is Asian.
oh my goodness.
And then like
Lord.
even with George Floyd, the police officer who murdered him, she's Asian. Like it says so much. Like the complicity of it is
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm very frustrated with that. You know, like she could speak more for us. It just seems like she has lost. I don't want to. I don't want, because I don't know her, so we can't like actually speaking volumes. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? We don't know what she's trying to do. Maybe she's trying to dance right now so she can be in a position to say something or do more. But so anyways, your amazing article, you stated that the model which maintains the belief Asians have risen and become more successful than other minorities because of their hard work creates bigger rift between the Asian American community and others. The model minority myth allows white America to avoid taking responsibility for the inequities it incites. How can we encourage the pan-Asian American community to have this tough conversation about the model minority?
just education. Really. Just having these hard conversations, talking to your parents about it. Because I think that older generations definitely have more of a stigmatized perspective on Black and brown people. And so just having those conversations, that's where it begins. That's how you see other people as humans. And I don't really know if there's any other better method. Like, yes, there are various ways you can go about educating somebody, but point blank, like, it's just going to be education that will solve it.
Right.
So how old are you exactly?
Oh, I'm 18.
You're 18?
Jennalynn,
What?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You're 10 plus 8? 18?
Yeah.
Holy, I could have.
Wait, why?
Wow.
Wisdom and the way you write and your.
Oh, thanks.
I thought you were like in mid-20s.
Oh, no.
Wow. I thought you were, my goodness. Anyway, the reason why I asked was because I just wanted to know. Wow, I'm in shock you're 18. But have you had these tough conversations with your family members and friends and are they like, you don't really need to tell us where their stance is, but how do you feel? Do you feel they've been supportive or they've been listening to what is going on?
Yeah, so with my friends, I feel like writing this piece was my way of starting a conversation, because I obviously can't reach out to everybody and be like, are you racist? Like, I can't do that. So my way of writing this was just like contacting everybody at once. And a lot of people, like a lot of my friends, read it and they resonated with it and shared it on their own social media, and that was great. But then with my family, my dad grew up in San Francisco too. Like I said, we've been in America for a while, so I didn't really have to have a conversation with my dad nor my grandpa, because my grandpa, when I was growing up, he would be like, if it weren't for the civil rights movement, we would literally be second-class citizens. And whether we are right now or not, it's very clear that like our circumstances have improved because of what happened in the 60s and the 70s. And so my dad and my grandpa have always sort of like felt that way. But then my mom, who did grow up in LA, she's from Korea. So she's like, my Korean family has had a more strained relationship with Black people, and I'm not really going to go into that. But like the LA riots definitely changed the way Korean people see Black people. They're just like, oh, they're so aggressive. There's so much crime, blah, blah, blah. They want to hurt us. They're out for us. And I never had like a deliberate conversation with my parents about it because I felt like they were already sort of aware of it. But I asked them to read it and like talk to me about it if they wanted to. And my dad has been really supportive of it actually, which I'm thankful for because I know a lot of my friends' parents don't feel that way.
Right.
They sort of are like, they're like, oh, Martin Luther King Jr. is such a great guy, but I don't know about the rest of them. Like, yeah.
My thing is like, look at, we, out of all the minority groups, we rank the highest in middle class income and education, right? But then we also have a large disparity as well, right? So we have to fix that as well, right? But I think we have so much economic influence and educational influence. Like if the Pan-Asian American community would we have to start something. Because look what like other groups are able to do with large numbers, right? I guess that's a mix of ethnicities and all that stuff, but I think it says so much more if we can do that together as an Asian American community. And we have to find a way to earn a right at the table, to be all that stuff, and we'll talk.
Well, I think that's also because of their suffrage. Like they've all felt it, but then even within the Pan-Asian community, there is a lot of disparity. Like I, as like a Chinese and Korean person, have more privilege than somebody who's Filipina
or Cambodian, right?
Yeah.